Welcome to the latest episode of 305 Vox Populi here in the town of Miami Lakes. I'm Mayor Manny Cid, and we have a phenomenal guest today. We have Rob Collazo, the CEO of Bit5. Rob, how you doing?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for having me today.
I appreciate you coming on. Before we get to a couple questions, I got to thank some of our sponsors. We're powered by Miami Lakes AutoMall. Thank you to Fred Center. I know the car business is booming. They gave the seed money to start this program. They're located at 16600 Northwest 57th Avenue, Miami Lakes. Their phone number is 305-455-3510. Rob, what do you think of this mural?
Awesome. Looks great.
Have you ever walked into a mayor's office and seen something like this?
No chance.
So it's a local art. Awesome. Local artist. She's a school counselor that put this all together. Her name is Grisel Gajano. Her phone number is 786-353-8608. Our food sponsor today is La Traila Barbecue. They're located at 8030 Northwest 154th Street. Have you tried La Traila?
Yes, I have.
Phenomenal.
Oh, best.
Phenomenal stuff.
Best in town.
Phone number, shout out to Mel, Isaiah. You all do a great job. 786-703-6197. That's La Traila. Our film production team, Matter Lakes Broadcasting. These folks are doing phenomenal things. They're actually even working on international partnerships now, which is really cool. So they got some cool stuff they might be announcing in the near future. But yeah, they started this off last year and they turned it into an academy where you got 3 teachers, you got incredible students, and 90 kids signed up for it in the school,
great.
Where they're teaching them from video editing, social media content. I mean, everything from A to Z when it has to do this type of production. So they're really doing a phenomenal job. They actually, not only do they do the podcast, but every sports game at the school, they do it for free for the parents. So you tune in and it's like Sports Center, like watching it on ESPN. You have a ticker on the bottom. You have an announcer.
Super cool. Great job, guys.
Really cool stuff. So Rob, to you,
Yes,
one
sir.
of the main question that we start off every podcast with is your why, right? You made a big transition from an entertainment mogul to betting on something where the vast majority of our society still doesn't understand. They know it's the future.
We've come a long way with it,
But
yes.
they don't understand. So why did you make that transition from the entertainment business to saying, I'm betting it on Bit5, on Bitcoin. I am going to be the CEO of the largest mining company around.
That sounds great.
No, it is. But that why is powerful because I'm sure that first move must have been tough. So what's your why?
So as funny as it sounds, it all started with entertainment. We ran and operated very successful venues, and we had a very large events that we were involved in throughout my 25-year career in nightlife. And at around 2011, we were running and operating a very successful venue. And at the time, we were bringing in a lot of tourists from Asia and Europe. And our controller at the time was, he was somewhat techie. And at the time, Bitcoin was already in the news. And he came up to me and asked me if maybe it would have been a good idea to implement Bitcoin as a payment system for the venue. Unfortunately, it was way too early in the game. There really were no payment platforms.
What year was that?
2011.
Wow.
Yeah. So there really were no payment platforms at the time, and there was really nowhere to set it up successfully. So we passed up on it, but it stayed in my head. And after that very big crash in 09 and 010 and 11, I was trying to figure out what was the next big industry that we could tap, that I could tap into, from an entrepreneur mindset, and started dabbling with Bitcoin. Bought my first Bitcoin miner, which at the time were little graphic cards, and immediately figured that, okay, you plug this thing up and it's generating some sort of revenue. At the time, Bitcoin was at $117, just to give you an idea.
What is it today?
Today it's at 44.
$44,000.
With a high of 68,000 last year. So, we've come a long way, right? In a very short amount of time. So it's very exciting. So one thing led to the other, and our Miami hustle, right? Here I have a little GPU card. It's producing income. Next thing you know, I mention it to my friend, my cousin, And oh, I'll buy one, I'll buy two, I'll buy three, I'll buy four. And I think within 60 days of starting this new venture, I would arrive at my little office, and I had people lined up the door, ready to get into the space. A lot of hoops and challenges in the beginning. Our first little operations was set up pretty much in a room this size, and we set up our first Bitcoin miners for our first clients. And within 24 hours, I was getting calls from the management company letting me know that we overheated every electrical panel in the building, and everybody was complaining because the building was at 90 degrees in temperature. So,
but you didn't respond saying, "Hey, but it's bringing in X amount of revenue."
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So we immediately had to scale, and fast forward a couple years later, we set up our first operation in Washington State, which was really the first main crypto hub in the U.S. And then it scaled very rapidly from there. Today we have multiple sites throughout the U.S., and I'm proud to say, that we are the largest infrastructure company in the country right now. What that means is that we're building more infrastructure than any other crypto firm in the United States. So it's a very exciting moment for us. And if you ask your why, outside of an entrepreneur mindset and the vision of taking that gamble and risk and into a new industry, Bit 5 is very special name for us, because Bit for Bitcoin and 5 is my family of 5. So I always like to say that, because everybody's like, well, why Bit 5? Well, there it is. So all our companies have a 5 somewhere in it. But that's my why.
That's awesome. And I think what's really cool, and especially for the kids that are going to be going through this process of editing this video and learning, is just that conversation you had in 2011 from somebody telling you, hey, why don't we implement this in our club, in our venue? And you're like, it stuck with you. Although you didn't do it, that stuck with you, and it was the bug. But one of the conversations that was interesting that you and I had a while back was that when you started in 2011, everybody, I'm sure, thought you were crazy, right? Everybody was like, what is this guy doing? This is not... Fast forward 11 years, and I'm sure now everybody wants to talk to you.
Yeah. Yes.
So talk to us about that transition, and we'll get into some of the details about the mining operation stuff, but I think that's so powerful in itself, because you bet on something that you believed in, and it went from nobody picking up your phone call to now it's the other way around.
I was just talking to Joseph outside. Our biggest hurdle was banking. Banks would close our bank accounts because we were a crypto firm, and now every bank on earth wants to meet with us or is working on some blockchain or Bitcoin program on their back end. So I think that's the biggest one that stands out. And obviously the second one is politics, right? Now we're sitting down with mayors, we're sitting down with senators and governors, and, we're in the White House, working on legislation for the crypto industry. So I think those are the two big ones that stand out. The banking institutions, and also from a political side.
No, that's phenomenal. That must feel it must be very fulfilling where you make that bet and where you're at today. And if you can, I went to your place. You were very gracious, take me in and show me around. Amazing what you're doing. Thank you. See those pods. But for those kids and everybody that's going to be watching, how do we explain crypto to them? How do we talk to them? Because I get it. I know what you're doing. I know you're mining. I know the blockchain. I understand it now. But those young people that how do they understand it? How do we make it in layman's terms for them?
I mean, the easiest way I like to explain it is, we started with gold, we moved to fiat, and now everything is evolving, right? Technology is evolving. Well, why is it so hard to believe or understand that now we're moving into a completely digital financial era? And we've probably ignored this in the past, but cash is pretty much obsolete at this point. And it wasn't because of crypto, it was because of the credit cards system. I go to a million places nowadays in which they don't even accept cash anymore. So that evolution has been taking place even from credit payment systems. Now it's obviously a little bit more digital, in which we could transmit currency from from our cell app to another one, and so forth. But the technology's been here, and I get this question a lot. How do we learn? How do we educate ourselves? You know what? Go to YouTube. It's really the easiest source to learn in very basic terms. You could punch in what is Bitcoin, what is blockchain, and what is mining, and there's real baby step videos on educating the public on what it really is. But I think the biggest factor in this is if you're not educated and you haven't learned, now is the time. I am guessing we're just a couple of maybe a year or two away before pretty much every transaction or every company you work with will be accepting crypto. From the Ubers to the Starbucks to the Publix to local government.
We accept it here via PayPal, but
correct. But
it'll get to a point where
it'll get to that point. So education is huge, and this is so early in the game. I know we talk, Bitcoin came to life in 2009. It's been 12, 13 years later. I mean, this is so new and so early that I would really love to watch local schools, colleges, universities really make an effort to build programs around the blockchain technology because the interest is there and the demand for a workforce for this specific niche is huge. You take my particular company right now, we're setting up operations all throughout the southeastern U.S. and locally. We will be employing in the next 12 months over 300 to 500 workers. A lot of those will be technicians and techs and engineers. So the opportunity will be there for these kids who have the drive to get involved into technology today to be very successful down the line. So,
man, that's really cool, and you're absolutely right because I remember watching the Super Bowl. The amount of ads all around crypto was think 5 years ago that did not exist.
It did not exist.
I mean, I think there was an ad that was a QR. What is it? One of those QR codes
the
bouncing.
Coinbase,
bouncing around, and I didn't get. And I'm not gonna lie, I was trying to catch it.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't get it either. So
I couldn't get. But at the end, and I'm like, I gotta think back. This is amazing how things have. But one part that you hit upon that makes it really easy for people to understand. You're absolutely right. We started off on basing the value of our dollar with the gold standard. Right. I think it was Nixon that changed that, right? And it really made fiat. It was just based on the word of our government. Now we know just having money in the bank with inflation alone, what you're getting out of it. But that entire process with Bitcoin, the blockchain, and to see credit card companies using blockchain for all their transactions, I mean, that is amazing to see that change.
It's huge, and it's happening very fast. Back to commercials on the Super Bowl. You have stadiums now named after crypto exchanges, FTX, downtown, the Miami Heat.
Yep.
You got basketball. It's everywhere. And the amount of money that's being pumped into the industry is just massive. And I see it. We've gone from, what were huge deals for us back in the day, $1 million deal to now doing $200 million deals. I mean, the amount of money that is being pumped into the infrastructure is insane.
So mining, can you walk us through your mission? I've been there, so I understand it. But for the folks listening, what do your pods do?
So our main specialty is actually infrastructure, which is the biggest headache in the game is building and managing the infrastructure to support the blockchain. It takes a lot of work and effort in trying to innovate in order to make sure that the technology functions the way it works. And when I started, it was a very silent community, and nobody really wanted to help each other, and there were a lot of challenges, and that's really what pushed us to focus and specialize on the infrastructure. Originally, our industry was based on infrastructure in the old style brick and mortar building. You would take a warehouse, whatever you could find, and you would create the infrastructure to mine. Unfortunately, we've scaled so quickly that we have had to find different ways of an innovation in order not only to manage more efficiently, keep the infrastructure costs down, but also be able to do this in scale and quickly build infrastructure. So our most exciting project, which we started this project about 4 years ago, was we took a 40 by 8 shipping container and we retrofitted it to become a modular mining farm, a Bitcoin farm. These modular solutions can be quickly built and can be quickly deployed in areas in which we have sufficient and cost-effective power, and that we have a substantial amount of land to be able to build these we call it mining cities that are being built now. And that's our main niche, building these pods. We're also now looking into other innovation, also because of the demand and the amount of infrastructure we need to build. We're coming up with an aluminum structure solution in which we could put up a 10,000 square foot building, almost like a Lego block, within 8 to 10 business days.
Wow.
And that's another very exciting project that we have up and coming. We are already in the process of finalizing the engineering and starting to build the first one. And those are the two angles that we're taking as far as the infrastructure goes for the industry.
Yeah, that's amazing, to be honest with you. What advice do you have for young people becoming entrepreneurs? Because I'm sure when you were in the entertainment business, you were making some good money. So you could have said, you know what, I'm fine. I'm going to keep doing this. But making that switch, I'm sure that there were days that you were like, man, what am I doing? You know what I mean? Like, so getting through those humps, I mean, what kind of advice do you have for young people?
You have to take risk. No pain, no glory, right? And then that's been my mentality for forever. And for every no, 2 yeses. And you just go ahead and do it. I like you said, at some point in my crypto career, I couldn't even land a meeting. But I just kept fighting and kept striving to be where we're at today. And nothing comes easy. Whether it's crypto or whatever industry you work in, you just got to work very hard at what you do. People always ask me, so what's your formula? And I tell them 7 days a week, 100 hours minimum for about 5 to 8 years. And that's my formula. Just fight, work hard.
No, and now everybody wants to talk to you instead of not taking those meetings, which is awesome. I know. So 2 things that we do a little different in this podcast. We at one point later on, we'll turn it around. You get to ask me some questions, but I hand it over now to the teachers and students. I know they were so fascinated when they were reading up on your company that they have some questions that they wanted to throw in here. If you're cool with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can all jump in. So I know they all got questions.
You have a very curiosity craving topic here. You know what I mean? Like I think you who are an expert in this industry probably still don't know everything that will come from this. It's all right. Now, I want to flip the script a little and ask, if I were to start a school, no better yet, an academy, right, that has to do with the crypto market, where do I start? Like, I have all these students that I want to teach, but where do I start? Like, if I brought you into one of the local charter schools, which it sounds like it'd probably be the best part to start, honestly, where would you start to be able to teach upcoming students about this? And then the second question I have, which is more of a joke of a question, but it's seriously a curiosity of mine, how do you pay your employees, or do they pick what currency you get paid in? All right, that's my second part.
We'll answer the first one. Truthfully, I think just do a survey. Have your science departments, your math departments involved, or I think some of these schools now have tech programs, your computer science programs, and do a survey and ask the students, are you interested in blockchain? Are you interested in learning more about crypto? And I think everybody's going to be very surprised with that response. As a matter of fact, in about a month, I am doing a presentation for a homeschooling program in which the kids, it all started with my kids obviously pitching what their dad does. and we're putting together several homeschool programs in which I'm going to present and talk to them about blockchain and Bitcoin. And I think that's a start. And I'm telling you right now, I think you'd be very surprised on how many students today would love to learn more about the industry and be a part of it in the future. Your second question, I'm open to pay my employees however they like. Most of them prefer currently fiat, but some of the top executives, they prefer their bonuses and so forth in crypto.
Okay.
All right, my question is, let's say, let's talk about the graphic card 3090, right? How many would you need, how many graphic cards would you need to be able to make a decent amount for a living?
Okay, so that has gone from your college student setting up some graphic cards or Bitcoin miners in their parents' garage to now massive infrastructure. It's evolved very quickly. So that is no longer possible. In order for you now to set up a crypto miner, for example, in your home garage, it's really not doable because the electrical, your circuits just won't, can't sustain it. So you now need way larger infrastructure and so forth. Currently, one of our pods, which holds 280 Bitcoin miners, is producing about 5 Bitcoin a month. And that fluctuates with the difficulty level of Bitcoin and also other factors. But that gives you a good idea of how much computing power you need to produce, 1 Bitcoin.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So,
It's massive.
as a beginning investor, how does a student or an adult know what to look at in order to decide where to invest?
I encourage everybody to, first of all, set up your first crypto wallet. There's many user-friendly wallets nowadays that now work. Back in my day, there were still a lot of glitches, even with Coinbase. It would take weeks to get a support answer, but we've come a long way from that, right? Coinbase is a very user-friendly platform. Robinhood and other platforms are very user-friendly, and that's your first step. Setting up a wallet or exchange. Most of them have a substantial amount of currency, different currency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, and the list goes on. And that's the first step.
What would you say to someone who may be skeptical about Bitcoin, especially the older generation?
Turn on the news.
Definitely.
That's it. I mean, turn on CNBC and turn on the news, and throughout the day, you will see several segments on crypto and the Bank of America's in the world, and some of the largest financial institutions in the world are heavily involved, and look at what they're doing in the financial markets. And that's really it. If you're skeptical, just pay attention, turn on the news for half a day, and you're gonna see it all.
I got one more. You are by far the most asked guest, but again, it's a lot of curiosity here. What he just said about skepticism, I want to ask you. You started obviously very early in this process, and there had to be a couple years of you wondering if you're making the right decisions. It's normal. What was that first big domino to fall? That first big company, or that first signal that showed you this is happening? Can you recall that?
So I went up to northern Florida, in which there was a Wall Street convention, in which a lot of these publicly traded companies were out there pitching their products and their companies. I went simply to pitch my business opportunity to one particular group. And by the time I finished that pitch, I had over 10 to 12 Wall Street companies surrounding my dinner table listening to what I was saying. And that was the first time in which I said, okay, this is really going to happen now. And that was it from there. Once you had the Wall Street guys, paying attention, I said, it's just a matter of time before this really takes off. And it took off.
And going to Micah's point, how the world and what you said about TV, how do you change people's minds? So I'll give you a perfect example. 2 weeks ago, I'm at the park. I was working out, I had some residents come up to me. They're like, I got to show you something. I want to show you my museum. Or I think and it was an NFT museum. And they're walking me around the park. Because once you walk, it's showing me everything. Yes. They're like, look, I bought this Spider-Man last week for $50. This guy over here, they don't know who it is offering me $1,200. And then and I'm just walking around with him for like 15 minutes. I'm just like, what are we, like, where are we? But it's so amazing to see. So what are you, I mean, I know you want to jump in on that.
Yeah, so back to students and young people getting involved. To me, the largest impact for the younger community has been the NFTs. It's really become fun. Through art and you know the Spider-Mans and monkeys and so forth, it's really catching on with the younger crowd. My kids, my kids are talking about NFTs. My son's 12 years old, so I think the NFT has really made an impact on the younger community. I mean, you could NFT this room right here.
Oh no, I think that's one of the projects that we'll work on.
Yeah.
But I was so blown away about that because I was like, man, and they were, but people were bidding on it and sending them requests like, man, I'll take this off your hands for $1,200. I was like, what?
Yeah, we're seeing it also in the metaverse world. That's really kicking in as well. I mean, people are buying properties for millions of dollars.
Yachts in the metaverse.
Cars. I mean,
it is. Are you into that yet? Have you bought it?
I'm not. I'm too busy building stuff. So no.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Rob, any questions you got for me? I know this is part of the show where we kind of flip it around for a little bit.
Well, I think it's kind of cool because I have a good relationship with you from a personal standpoint. You're a father. You're a mayor. You're an entrepreneur. You're a coach. What's your why? I mean, you seem to cover all the bases and so forth. So.
Man, I in the political side, my why is simple. It's because I get to wake up every day with an opportunity to do something cool, right? Like just having this podcast in partnership with a school gives me so much purpose, right? Like I look forward to my Wednesdays every day. Like we talk about this all the time because you have that impact on your society where I've had parents now walk up to me and are like, my kid's joining the Matter Lakes Academy broadcast. Are looking forward to learning from the teachers going on. And to me, that's so cool. But on top of that, like residents, when they call me or we get things done, that really gives me a lot of satisfaction. So that gives me a lot of why. But I also, part of that balance, I'm always going to coach. I already signed up. They signed me up already for Shula's coach. I coach at their school too. I'm with my kids 24/7, but I'm so blessed because I get to do everything within the town. But yeah, that's my why, because I get to make that impact not only for other people, but for my kids' future, to leave something better off, to see Main Street come back, which it is, finally coming back, to refurbish our parks, to make sure that traffic doesn't really impact our quality of life, to do so many cool things that are now in my control. Instead of saying, oh, that's somebody else's problem, I really wanted to be the one to say, hey, yeah, it's on me, but I'm going to try my best to make sure I leave it off in better hands. But yeah, my why is obviously just like you, like how you have it on your shirt, bit 5, that 5, your family, the same. Yeah, I just had my 5th. Yeah, yes, I'm at 5. Yeah. We talked about it the other day. Yeah. So it's the same exact thing. But I wake up every day super excited because of these possibilities. I always see the glass, half full, right? And I think that perspective in our lives is so important. So that's my why.
Awesome. I think we may be getting close to ending, but back to the students who are listening and watching. Talk to your teacher. Talk to your principal. I would love to come by and present and teach you guys a little bit about the topic. So, just reach out to your teachers and let them know that you heard the podcast and you want to learn a little bit more, and we'll be more than happy to show up and teach you guys some.
No, thanks, Rob. We appreciate you coming on. Anything else you wanted to add about Bit 5? Anything? No. Any cool stuff coming up in the next few weeks that you could announce today, or you have non-disclosure agreements?
We have a lot of crazy good stuff coming, but unfortunately, I got to keep it kind of quiet for now. But it's going to be a very exciting year for our company.
That's awesome, brother. Congratulations! And what's cool about everything, you're a local resident. Yes, having an impact not only on your local community but throughout the world. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for being so open about it and sharing it with everybody else.
Thanks for having me.
So there you have it. Robert Collazo, the CEO of Bit 5. Tune in next Wednesday on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.